Let me give you a hug.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. This is a great example of how you securely repair a connection that is broken in your relationship. For those of you who don't know, secure repair is literally the ability to be intentional about rebuilding and healing the connection between yourself and a partner after a conflict. Because I want to say this now, watching these two, a couple of minutes before that, earlier on the scene, it weren't looking good. And I guess obviously after, when we do it part two, it's not looking good. But this particular scene was a great example of how you heal your relationship and how you heal a connection with your partner to make sure there isn't any underlying resentment that will begin to undermine your relationship later on. But these two also are avoidance. So there is actually another battle that's going on, because the ego work, the pride, the fear of vulnerability also plays in the ability to be able to securely repair your relationship. Because if you're feeling like the other person hasn't heard you, if you feel like the other person hasn't seen you, if you're feeling like the other person hasn't actually understood where you were coming from, secure repair might be a little bit more difficult. So let's break this video down so that you can understand how you can best be able to repair your relationship, but also look at how these two actually came to this roundabout perspective as well. So let's go a little bit more earlier on. Before we do, make sure you do me a massive favor. You're liking, you're sharing, you are subscribing, and you're clicking on that wonderful bell button for the notifications of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. I'm back with it. Stay hydrated. Let's get into the video. Okay, let's play a little bit. We're going to go a little bit more earlier on, because we have to be able to look at what happened earlier on in the relationship.
Angry. I was frustrated. Like, I mean, like if I did offend you or like make you mad by, like, I guess comparing you to Megan.
Oh, no.
Okay, so there's a situation here. Okay, the situation here between Brittney and Will simply is that they had some previous issues. One was Brittney walking away because she felt rejected and felt like he didn't fully see her when it came to the intimacy issue. And so then the second issue was that she also compared him to Megan, which we know from the show Megan is somebody who's a very avoidant individual person. And to be fair, she wasn't wrong. But in this scenario, the first thing that I picked up on was the apologies that she gave. They weren't real good apologies. I'm gonna be honest with you. Whenever you start saying if I offended you or if I did this, rather, if she's not sure whether she did offend him, she should ask him, did I offend you in this scenario? Then apologize if he says yes, because he actually didn't feel offended. So now you've given an apology, which he wasn't even feeling some type of way about, which means you probably felt a way about what you say, because you may have felt like you was a bit over the line in what you said. So just apologize and say, I feel like I was over the line when I compared you to Megan. So I apologize for that. Own it. And a lot of times what happens with people when they're not trying to be vulnerable, and avoidance do this really well, is that they don't want to own the very thing that they actually enrolled in and enlisted in. And by the way, I'm saying some terms, if you don't know what they are, avoidance tend to be people who grew up in households where they were emotionally neglected in some shape or form, and their emotional needs were not taken care of. And what they learn is hyper-independence, depend on self, and they don't like to co-regulate with people, meaning they don't like to share their feelings and then feel better about themselves. They rather feel better about themselves by processing their own feelings and their own thoughts by themselves. And you're probably saying to the screen, yeah, doesn't everybody do that? And you'd be surprised. Not everybody does that. So going back to these two, that apology didn't need to happen. But because she knew she probably said something that was, for her, was a little bit sharp, she decided to half-assed apologize. The reason why is because she's pissed off. She's annoyed. She's hurt. She's frustrated. And in that space, what's ended up happening is that she now is in contention with him, and he's in contention with her because they are feeling some type of way. So let's watch a little bit more, because we're going to come back. We're going to come to that repair and how we got to there.
I wasn't offended by that. I think it was just that it's like I'm always the one that's asking those questions. Yeah, you've said that that's you asking.
Okay.
I mean, if that's wrong, you can tell me.
We're not going to see.
So they're having this disagreement about who is the person who's asking these good questions, right? And he says, obviously, I disagree. I think, I didn't feel offended about the Megan situation because I actually felt like I'm the one that actually asked those questions. And then she goes, okay, well, we're not going to agree to disagree here because we've had this conversation before, and I don't think you're asking those questions. Now, I think both of them are failing to ask questions the way they need to. And actually, if they both feel like they're asking the questions, maybe they should start asking each other what those questions look like to them. So when you say you want me to ask you questions, what does that look like to you? Now, Brittney kind of alluded to this in episode 4. But clearly he feels like he's asking questions. And so maybe she needs to start working on actually sitting down and going, what do I need him to ask so that I know that he's hitting that quota? And then he also asks that question, what does she need to ask me so I know that she's hitting that quota? Because at the moment they're missing each other, and this argument's gone round again on a second time because actually we do not define what those questions are looking like or what they sound like. I know as a dismissive avoidant growing to be more secure, one of the things that I want is someone to ask me deep questions. I want them to ask questions that are going to tickle my intellect. I want questions that are going to make me think. I want questions that are going to, pull me out to think more emotionally. I want questions that are going to open me up to, not say the debate, but to dialogue and to be critical in my thinking, which is also in alignment with what I believe Will also wants, right? He wants questions that are targeting that space. But I don't know if that's what actually Brittney wants. I think Brittney wants questions which are more centered and focused about who she is. Ask me questions about, what I've been through. Ask me questions about my emotional state. Ask me questions about, my experiences. Ask me those personal questions so that I can feel like you're getting to know me. Now, without them both actually, stating what these questions look like, they're probably just going to keep hitting and missing. And they're probably going to still keep having a fight with each other because neither of them are going to hit the quota. Okay?
Eye on it. Like,
Okay,
I don't
so
want to keep
then
talking about it.
that's fine.
If I need to ask you more questions, I will. I'll make a list and I'll feel like myself getting upset.
Okay.
I will.
Don't have to have the conversation anymore.
Well, I don't think we've resolved anything.
Well, actually, at this point here, Brittney then says, I'll just write down a list then and just ask you questions. And actually, in that space, she's missing a great opportunity here. She's making a throwaway comment, which is almost kind of downplaying the need that he has, right? I'll just make a list and da da da. It's like, no, that's not what he's asking. But oftentimes, this is what we do when we get frustrated. We get annoyed, and then we go into some self-deprecation or some self-sabotage or some level of attack on the other person rather than really just sitting with it and thinking. And that's why it becomes an argument, not a disagreement. And so in this space now, because she's frustrated, the comment comes out, and he has to now also at the same time has to not engage in the same way that she's engaging to not make this escalate. And this is why I always say to men that we don't have to argue with women. I don't mean that in a patriarchal sense. I mean that in a sense of good leadership recognizes that it's not going anywhere, which is why he ended up saying to her, well, I can see you getting upset, so let's maybe park this. And she was like, well, we're not solving anything. Well, we're not going to solve anything if you're going to be upset and start making throwaway comments. We're also not going to have a good conversation, right? So it's really important that while she may want solutions and she may want to solve an issue, when you start getting emotionally aroused to a place where you start throwing away comments, at that point, the conversation isn't going to be beneficial. And what you're asking for is the other person to not get offended about you now saying certain things that you're going to have to take back later on anyway. You know what I mean? So this is really important. And I tell men this as well specifically, but even if you're a woman watching this, is good for you too. Disengage when it gets to that place, because when people start getting to that place, you can't take words back. So if you know you got a sharp, slick mouth, you should be pulling back and saying, hey, I need a few minutes. Let me recalibrate and come back, because she was getting annoyed and she was getting frustrated. And when she gets annoyed and frustrated, her lip starts to go. And if you know you have that lack of discipline, you have to pull yourself out of that scenario so that you don't offend your partner. Because once it's said, it can't be taken back. And I always say this to people, once you say it, it cannot be taken back ever. So be careful what you say. That's what the Bible says. You'll be judged for every word and every iota that comes out your mouth. Okay? So be very careful what you'll say. So I appreciate him wanting to say, we'll take it out. Now, this is where the actual repair begins. And I think this is a very good example of how repairs happen. First and foremost, for a repair to happen, you need to put your ego aside, okay? And one thing that you're going to find with avoidance is Nobody wants to lose. Why? Because both avoidants usually are engaging in some level of power struggle. My needs are not getting met, so your needs are not going to get met. Okay. All right. You were mean to me, so I'm going to be mean to you. Right. Avoidants can find themselves in struggles of power because they recognize that they haven't had their needs met as a young child. So when they get to their adult relationships now, it feels like, again, oh, my needs are not going to get met. Oh, this time I have some level of power, whether I attack you, whether I defend, whether it's I walk away, whatever it is, I need to do something that gives me some level of power back in the relationship. The problem with that is that when you have power struggles in that scenario, somebody will get hurt. And I'm not talking about physically, but most times I'm talking about emotionally. Someone's getting physically hurt, you need to check that relationship. That's toxic, and you probably need to not be in that situation because you hit me once, I'm out the door. Okay. But we watch Will in this moment do something very powerful. He puts his ego aside and recognizes that he's going to physically do something. He's going to get up. He's going to come all the way round to her side. I want you to watch a little bit more of her body language and how she's going to respond to this, because this is really potent and powerful as well. Okay. She's already feeling down. Her face is in her palm because she actually doesn't have an answer for the situation right now. Right. She doesn't know how to solve the issue. And this is where a lot of people are in relationships where they didn't know how to solve the argument. They don't know how to solve the disagreement. And it festers over and over because when people don't solve these issues, it grows and becomes resentment. And it makes a mountain hole of a relationship far later on down the line. And then you're looking at 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. And then you wonder why the relationship just suddenly snaps. It snaps because people have built up resentment over time, not dealing with the issue. But that doesn't mean that every single issue can be solved. Apparently, up to 70% of issues are reoccurring and won't be solved. But the other 30 are very important and they need to be solved. Okay, so make sure you can solve what you can solve. Okay, I know it's not Scooby-Doo, but we do need to solve these issues. So watch it again. What's happening here?
No, please. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Let me give you a hug.
Okay.
Now I want to pause it right here. This is eloquently done and beautifully done. What he does is that he begins to build a bridge with her. Now, it's interesting because when people are having arguments, the greatest thing is that people actually have fears in these arguments. And so when they're fearing, the fear they have is disconnection is about to happen, which means abandonment, betrayal, or rejection is probably going to take place. So in this moment, what he does is comes all the way around the other bed and he says, give me your hands. Right? So she has to put her hands in his and he pulls her up and then hugs her. Now, I know I'm giving you a play-by-play, which you just saw. Why am I telling you that? It's important because sometimes we need to be conscious of what just happened. He first of all has to put his ego aside, come round to the other side. Okay, a bit like Jesus did, Philippians 2, where he had to, come down, made lower than the angels. But anyway, let's focus. Come round, open his arms and bring her up to where he's standing, and then he embraces her. Now that sends a non-verbal but a very loud message. We are not enemies. And sometimes, and a lot of times, saying it isn't as powerful as actually doing it. It's why a lot of times with couples have an argument on the phone. Whew, man, you can't repair that very easily. It's not easily unless both people stay on the phone, because you know how it be. Some of you avoidance, you be cutting the phone. You know who you are. But in this scenario, because you're physically face to face, and it's one thing I learned probably about a year ago or two. I remember I was having an argument with a young lady and I was just telling her, like, yo, I'm not having this argument on the phone anymore, bro. Like, if we're going to argue, we're not arguing on the phone anymore, bro. And if we are, I need to find a way to sort it out, because there ain't no way that I need to be arguing with you on the phone, because what ends up happening is you don't get to see me in my fullest. You don't see my facial expression, all that kind of stuff. And I remember we had a conversation, and I mean, the first time I saw it, I did the exact same thing he just did. And me just said, listen, before we have this conversation, before we go anywhere, just give me a hug. Right? I want you to know it's a safe space. I want you to know that, listen, from here on out, this conversation now is going to be one of understanding, not one of you win or I win. This needs to be understood. And I'm going to be open to what you're telling me. Okay? So this is very important to what was happening. Okay?
Okay. Here, that works.
Now, do you see how the energy has shifted? Do you see how old girl has shifted? Man, I want you to focus on this. And ladies, if you've got a man, send this to him. Do you see how it shifted, bro? The moment he put his ego aside and said, I'm going to build a bridge. Hey, hold on. Let me hold your hands. Let me hug you. Let me kiss you. Let you know that, listen, I'm not going nowhere. Because some of you don't recognize that your comfortability in it is what it is. is very dismissive. You don't recognize that actually that sends a signal to your partner that they're not safe in this scenario. So it's really important. So now he does something. He sits beside her and she opens up her body language now, right? So now they're not sitting almost like they're now sitting beside each other. It's now going to be one of those conversations which are going to be very much more fruitful and productive as well, okay?
I know that we're not always going to come to resolutions instantaneously, and maybe not even immediately afterwards. But if we could agree that we allow each other grace.
You see how she nodding her head? Yeah, because he's got her. Okay, all right. He just made her feel safe in that moment. Now, both men and women can do this, by the way. This is not only a man thing, but I'm just saying because it was him. This is a beautiful way of making your partner feel safe and repairing the relationship. So let me quickly just give a couple of tips as to what secure repair will look like. In any given case, number one, we need to regulate ourselves and calm the heck down. That's not point number one. Regulate yourself and calm the heck down. If you are emotionally aroused where you are at the hilt here, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. If you have to walk out and come back, communicate that, because that's the issue they had in the first place. The reason why we're here in the first place, because she did not communicate that, which we'll talk about probably another time, right? Communicate that to your partner. Let them person know, I need 10 minutes. I'm going to go away. I'm going to have to calm myself down. And then I'm going to come back and have this conversation, right? So you need to regulate yourself, calm yourself down, all right? Number two, you need to be ready and open to listen without judgment. And what does that look like? It looks like asking more questions. It looks like you saying, so what does this mean? Okay, I know you walked out, but why is it that you decided to walk out at that moment? What was happening for you? It's asking questions of curiosity. Number three is naming the pattern, not the person. So when you say, okay, look, I noticed that you walked out the other day, right? What was going on for you that you decided to walk out? Because I've noticed that you've walked out a few times when we get to a heated debate. What's going on with you that you have to walk out? So the person can explain himself. In the explanation is the understanding. My guys, I'm telling you, this is where the thing comes from. Number four is that you must take accountability. Please do not give apologies. It is very much not vulnerable, and it's actually kind of insulting to your partner to give an if apology. If I offended you, no. You should ask a question. Did I offend you? If I did, then let me apologize. I'm sorry for offending you. So if you're not sure if you did or didn't do something, stop saying if. It's so not vulnerable, and also it's very much showing that you actually don't mean what you're saying. You're just kind of saying it to get along. So if you don't know if you offended them, ask them, did I offend you? Right? Then if they said no, don't apologize. And if they say they did, you did, then apologize. You know what I mean? And if you know you did something, apologize without the if. I am sorry for, and then name the thing that you did. I am sorry for walking out on you without communicating to you that I was going to go away, which actually Brittney did not do. So she can't do that too many times. Because if you can get away with it a few times, but after a while, by not apologizing for the very thing you should be really apologizing for and not using an if, the person will pick up on that in a few times, and later on they're going to feel resentment because they feel like you're not really being accountable. Okay. So take also account for your emotions. Own your emotions. Number 5, own your own emotions. Like them doing something, I felt like when you walked out, I felt in that moment abandoned. That's how I felt. And also how I felt does not make it a truth. It's one of my favorite lines I say to people. I'm like, look, I can't lie to you. I feel pissed off right now. But just because I feel pissed off does not make it a truth of this scenario. You have your own truth and you have your own perception. And I need to hear that. But I want you to know that this is how I feel, right? I want people to start really owning their emotions and stop trying to make the other person accountable for your feelings. Them walking out or them saying something. It triggers something in you. So own it. When you said this line to me, it made me feel like I wasn't, it made me feel like you didn't care. But I recognize that you do care. I do need reassurance though at points in time. And this has opened my eyes to now know that I need reassurance as well. Right? So you're owning it. I feel this way and I recognize it doesn't mean it's the truth. You may have a different perspective. Okay. All right. Connection language is important. We, us, and let us. There's beautiful things. We, us, our, it's very much, it is joint ownership of the situation, showing that we're in this together. I got your back, you got mine. Okay, because especially if you're an avoidant, that is a big trigger that they feel like they're doing it alone because they've always done it alone. And one of the ways you can make an avoidant feel very secure is letting them know that they're not in this alone. Whether they lose their job, whether they, they're on hard times, whether they're sad, whether they haven't got it right, letting them know that you're still in it with them is a powerful thing. Okay, focus on what you can repair right now. I think it's number 7. Focus on what you can repair on right now, because sometimes you can't repair every single thing. What I mean by that is you can't solve every issue, right? Something needs to be pushed to later on, and we can say, look, we'll talk about this in 2 weeks' time, but right now let's focus on this one and let's repair this one and get this one back on track, right? Okay, number 8 is to make commitment to change behavior. They actually said it in this clip. They were talking about obviously promising each other to give each other grace. That is a very powerful aspect as well. Okay, and then number 9 is, what do they need to feel reconnected? So as much as he picked her up and hugged her and everything, great way of securely repairing. Another way to go a step further is to say, hey, how do you feel best we can reconnect from your end, and I'll let you know what I need to reconnect. Because for me personally, if you hug me, touch me, correct me, I'm good. You know what I'm saying to you? But that doesn't mean that everybody needs that. Now that's not the time to now start saying I need diamond rings and a dozen roses, baby. Okay, that's not the time. But it also could be like I said, there's something that you would need in order to feel reconnected. Whether it's them saying I love you, whether it's them, coming to you, whether it's them, maybe it is a gift or something like that, and a gift doesn't necessarily mean like massive. It just sometimes means something thoughtful and considerate. Maybe their favorite drink, and you go and buy their favorite drink, right? Because they like that drink. Again, it's about being able to repair, and sometimes those things can't be done immediately on the spot, but you're thinking about it, you're going to do it tomorrow. These are important ways. What do they need to reconnect? Okay, so I will quickly roll for it again. Number 1, regulate yourself, calm down. Number 2, listen without judgment. Number 3, name the pattern, not the person. Number 4, take accountability for your actions. Number 5, and own your own emotions. Number 6, connective language. We, us, and our. Number 7, focus on what you can repair right now. Number 8, make commitment to change. And number 9, ask them what they need to feel reconnected in that relationship. Look, my time is up. This is the kind of stuff that I do in coaching on a regular basis with clients. I want to help them be able to have a better relationship with themselves, with their partners, with family as well. And we have a lot of couples, we have a lot of single people, divorced, married, whatever position you are. The key thing is, what's the relationship you have with yourself? Because with that relationship, you will have a better relationship with other people when you have a great relationship with yourself. So do me a massive favor. Make sure you're liking, you're sharing, and you are subscribing to the channel. And make sure you leave a comment down below as well. I would love to know your thoughts. Do you agree with this review? How do you see the repair situation between Brittney and Will? Was somebody at blame here? Do you believe? Let me know in the comment section. It's always good to have conversations as well. And don't forget, hype the video up, because we need those hype points. I don't know why, but that YouTube said they wanted to have those. It is what it is. Your favorite dating and relationship coach. We'll see you again very, very soon. Much love and much appreciation. We'll see you again on the next video as well. Ta-ra, ta-ra. We'll see you again soon.
Little black book. You know what time it is.
Little black